So I just wanted to give a tour of the Simple Homes factory. We're in the kind of preliminary stages. We should start producing our first couple units in the next week or so. We're still tooling up on this spot, but I wanted to just give a little tour to show what the benefits are for the L&D clients and the ADU clients that we have. So I'm going to give you a quick tour. So the vast majority of the material will get dropped off kind of in this back area. So we'll take delivery of all the material here, and then we'll actually have some pallet racking and stuff here, load material, and then it gets processed through this door. This is a kind of a mock-up of what the saw that we were getting will look like. We're buying a Tiger Saw 1000. Which is a fully automated saw with lumber optimization. So you can get the absolute most out of all the lumber that you have. So all the material gets brought in here. This is an automated Tiger stop saw gear. So you can actually program in whatever you want to cut, and then the saw moves accordingly. So, and then it's just a standard saw with big outfeed table and big infeed table here. So the process will more or less be the same, whether it's the Tiger Saw 1000 that's more fully automated, or this saw. Really, this will just optimize all of our cutting and also make sure that it's really, really precise. The Tiger Saw will be 1/100th of an inch. So what we'll do is we'll process all the material here. We'll have some stack racks here. The operator will cut everything and stack it into these racks that we have over there, and then bring everything as a kit around. And then right here what we've got is a sort of replica of the size of 1/2 of the pair of tables that we're ordering that should be here in the next couple of weeks. This is approximately 12 feet by 40 feet. And when it comes from our manufacturer in Michigan, this will actually be a set of 2 tables. So what this does is allow us to build everything on the flat. And then once it's done, we can actually flip it up and either pick it out and take it and put it on the truck and it's ready, or it can get flipped up and then actually passed on so you can work on the back side. And then really just from there, it actually gets picked out and then move down onto the trailer that we have here. The finished wall or roof or floor panel directly off the line here, and set it on the truck. These are actually the stack racks that we'll use to kit all the parts. Everything sort of gets stacked in here and it's all labeled, and then it gets forklift over to the individual cell, and then the operator takes off the material and builds the wall. This is a rough model of what it will look like at full build out. So these are the 2 first tables that we're ordering now. This is the cut processing center area, and then this will be another area that is essentially just like the first cell-based approach here. And then we'll have a floor building area over here, or miscellaneous subcomponents, and then, as I mentioned, this will all get loaded here and then out the door. One of the really cool things that will help us maximize our speed and our efficiency throughput, as well as the quality, is this little laser here. So this laser here is from a company called LAP out of Germany. And essentially what it will do, there'll be a pair of lasers for each of the cells. There'll be one laser sort of this third and one laser that third. And it will be able to project down what the layout of the wall is. So the idea here is that we build everything in 3D, and our design lead, John, puts everything into a shop drawing. It gets put into the lap laser, and then it projects down and shows, hey, this is where all the studs go. So there's a stud here, there's a window here, and it lays everything out for you. So there's no measuring, there's no chance for mistake there. And then after that, then we'll sheathe everything. And so the wall gets built, it gets clamped and squared. Then we put all the sheathing plywood on, and the laser actually shows you where to nail. And the laser actually shows you also where to cut out the window openings. And then it moves on from there and says where to put all our rain screen furring strips. And from there you scroll and it shows you where to put all the siding. So it's really the key, one of the big keys to us being really efficient, being able to produce a lot of product out of this factory and make sure that it's really high quality and perfect. The lap laser is a really key component in making sure that we have a really high quality product that we can push through really quickly. We are going to the Denver Architecture Foundation lecture series. I'm one of three panelists for a talk on small footprint living, and I'll speak specifically primarily on accessory dwelling units and sort of how they fit into that mold. Here we go. So I don't exactly know what to expect out of tonight. Didn't give us a whole lot of feedback regarding exactly what we're going to talk about, other than it's a panel discussion on small footprint living. So where I step in here is obviously regarding accessory dwelling units and just kind of being a voice in that space in Denver especially. So, and obviously by default, or by definition really, ADUs are small footprint living, with the vast majority of the ADUs being, 500 to 750 square feet. So I'm not exactly sure what nuances we're going to talk about, but I'm guessing we'll get into some of the challenges around zoning and maybe barriers to additional building of them.
So our lecture series is actually a quarterly series. It's called Catalytic Denver, and it connects the public with architecture and design experts and civic leaders aiming to ignite community dialogue and further engage the public with topics related to Denver's built environment.
What do you see as the barriers to building more ADUs?
Honestly,
come on, give him a hand.
I'm not prepared. I really am not prepared at all.
Yeah, so I think we've definitely, since 2010 was really kind of the end of the recession, and we hadn't seen a whole lot of interest in ADUs, and as the market had picked up and affordability has become an issue, a lot more people have been interested in a more affordable either rental or place for their family or potential downsizing. So over the last few years, we've definitely seen a big uptick in the desire to build ADUs. I think the zoning code in 2010 was designed when we didn't really understand what ADUs were. And so there's a good amount of stuff within the zoning code that is pretty tough. Specifically, just the fact that you can build it in part of West Highland and you can't build it in part of the other. So hopefully Blueprint Denver is the beginning stage to sort of addressing that and making it more equal across the city. So I would say that's probably the number one thing in terms of barriers to entry. There's certainly still a lot of issues around financing. Financing is just really tough. Big banks don't exactly know what to do with this yet. So we have some smaller players kind of getting in the game, but we're still having problems with appraisals and stuff like that. So I would say that zoning, these things are quite expensive. And then when you can't finance them, that's really sort of the three biggest barriers to entry for more ADUs across the city. I think on the, so we have a lot of experience obviously in the ADU space, and I mean, we see a lot of people that are very interested in moving their parents in or moving into it themselves. And I think since about the 1950s, in the 1950s there was approximately 4.3 people per household. Now we're somewhere just above 2. So there really is a big demand for accommodations for 1 or 2 people. And the ADUs are just really flexible to allow for growth. So you can rent it in the interim, say before you want to retire and travel a bit more, or move your kids into the front, or rent the front to gain a little extra income if you're on a fixed income. So they're really flexible. And so I think from a design standpoint and from a development standpoint, they're also very benign, kind of gentle density. In general, if you see most of the stuff we've built, it just sort of fades into the background of what's going on. So it's a really good way of adding some additional density, allowing people to gain some extra income, some extra money out of an existing property. It might allow people to stay. So I think that's really the point of the missing middle, is to allow more people to stay in the city. And I think, at least on the ADU side, for our side, we see that every day. So I would say that's what we see on the ADU side for the missing middle stuff.
One last question for me that I'm just going to throw out. What are you hearing misconceptions about small footprint living that you'd like to see overcome?
I mean, I think on our side, not as much. I think we are really seeing the vast majority of the people that we work really embracing the idea of living in a smaller space. I think it's become trendy in a way. I think it's sort of started around the tiny home living, and I think a lot of people have realized something that is downsized can be really a livable space. I know that's what we've tried to do in some of our open house stuff, is try to get people into these smaller spaces and say, with the proper design, a 600 square foot apartment can really live as well as, say, a 1,000 square foot place that they might be living now. So I think the vast majority of the time that we get people into the space, they really embrace it. So I think just following up on that a little bit too, I would say that that's one of the biggest things that we get pushback just in general from the community is, what does the parking situation look like? What does the traffic situation look like? And I would say the vast majority of the time in the neighborhoods that we're building in, we are building a ADU with a 2-stall garage below it. And generally we've replaced a old 1920s garage that nobody parked in anyways.